walk me through your founder journey a little bit, especially around acquisitions. I guess you've done two of them. Any advice that you give founders on like, hey, they receive an acquisition offer, how should they think about it? How what should they do in that situation?
Yeah, I would start even like one step before that and say like, I would never encourage founders to build a company with the idea that, like an exit in X amount of time is success. Because actually more often than not, like it's rare to have an outcome like ours. It's like more likely that like you exited because of, circumstances like didn't work the way you wanted to. And like, you're either running out of money or any of those things. Like I wouldn't aim for that outcome. Um, but that said, it's like when you decide like an exit's the right thing to do for the company,
Mm.
the first time we did it, we proactively looked for it. The second time we did it, it just happened. Proactively looking for it was a function of like uh making sure we had more than one offer. Like going out there, running a process, kind of like you would fundraising to find out like where the perfect home is. More than like, two offers is one is none.
Let me push back on one thing. I feel like I think once you've had your exit and you have some success, it's easy to say like, hey, don't try to chase an exit or whatever. But I remember as a first time entrepreneur, like, and I didn't come from like a wealthy background or anything, like that was kind of the aim, right? Like, I mean, they were like, hey, I want to sell this thing and that's going to make me rich. I mean, like, obviously you want to solve some problem as well, but that was like the end result that you expected. Like, I didn't initially think I was going to go IPO or something. So like I was chasing the exit. So when you say, hey, don't chase the exit, like, is that realistic? Like, that's what I feel like a lot of people who are first time founders, especially, are going to be thinking, like, what is Rahul talking about?
That's totally fair. And I should clarify, when I say exit, I specifically mean acquisition. And when I'm referring to this, I'm actually not saying don't get an acquisition and be happy. Like that could be the perfect outcome for the business. What I'm saying is like, don't focus on that as like the end goal, because what to create that outcome where you are rich and you're rich in the shortest period of time, often if all you do is focus on adding value, like creating value with your business, like you'll probably have that outcome. But if you focus on like trying to navigate the waters of like, how do I perfectly position this to have this company buy it? You end up having like not enough eggs in the basket with maybe not enough focus on adding value. And now you might not be able to get that done. So it's like, I completely agree with you. Like, especially in the first time, you just want the best financial outcome in the shortest period of time. So like, that's fine. But if you add value, I think you're more likely to have that outcome. It's
Yeah,
kind
I
of my
think that's a good way to put it. It's like happiness. Like you don't want to chase happiness. You want to chase meaning and other things, and happiness comes as a consequence.
yeah, exactly. That's a great analogy.
So in your first company, did you? I know you said you were like, hey, trying to like kind of make an exit happen. Did you have an initial offer first that made you think, hey, like I should go collect enough interest, or did you literally have nothing and you were like, okay, let me go try to sell this?
I all I got was at the time cold inbounds from like people who are like, oh, this company might be interested in buying. It's just bullshit that like as a first time founder,
Yeah, you get excited about it.
you're just like, ooh, someone wants to buy the company and you take it really seriously. Um, but it was enough that I was like, all right, it's time to pull some threads. Like we actually had an acquisition fall through in early 2020 because of COVID. And then I had to like raise some emergency funding. Like it was a rocky road at the time. And then actually was able to focus purely on adding value for the business, which put me in a leveraged position where I could raise the next round where I had offers to be able to do that, or I could sell the business. And the decision to sell the business was mostly focused on like, I actually have less faith that the venture outcome is like reasonable in a period of time that I think is like going to be reasonable. We were 5 or 6 years in the business at the time. So that was number one. And then number two was just like, look, I actually think that the market dynamics right now with like COVID kind of on the upswing might be a great time to get a price that otherwise we might not get if these market dynamics don't hold for a
Hmm.
while. So
And how
like
much had you raised at that point?
we'd raised $4.5 million. So
Yeah.
not very much at
I
all.
often think like that's a really good point to consider an exit. And I think enough founders don't do it, especially actually, when you can raise a series A, like it was, you had some offers, it was COVID, like it was hot time. But like a small exit, like a sub $100 million exit, there's so many more companies that can do that. And often it is like very life changing for the founder
Yeah.
in a way that like a much lower probability bigger exit like probably doesn't make that much more money for the founder and that much more of a life kind of change.
I think it's totally true. And like, I like to kind of key in on what you're getting at here is like, if you're a first time founder and you don't come from a tremendous amount of money, like I definitely did not, uh, like a smaller first exit is like a great outcome, especially if it's enough money for you to take a big swing on the next one.
Yep.
And VCs, like you're never gonna like, no one's ever gonna think that you failed. Everyone's gonna be like, "Great job. You like learned a lot, you built a great foundation, and like you're really well funded the next time." Like VCs, especially by your investors.
It is confusing though because investors don't really want you to take that
No, they
exit, right?
don't.
Like as in, yeah, I had a. This was a while ago, and I won't name the company, but they called me up and they were so excited. They were like, "Hey, man, like we just got this great exit. Like it's gonna be like, 5x your money." And I was thinking to myself, like, I invested in like 30 companies that year, right? 5xing my money, it doesn't like do anything for me. But I was, obviously I have to go like found issues. I'm like, hey, congrats, like I'm so happy for you guys, etc. But like as an investor, it's just that like you really need 100x when you're like doing seed investments. Like that's how you make up for the fact that, you're doing so many. But yeah, so you don't get great advice from investors in that situation, in my opinion, because the incentives are not aligned.
Well, I think, yeah, you're not gonna get great advice from investors in the middle of it, like, in the middle
Yep.
of the consideration if they're invested in you. But
Yep.
after you've done it and you go out to raise the next company,
Oh yeah, they'll back the truck. Yeah.
yeah, they'll back it, but it's specifically based on the context of your acquisition. I really went out of my way to, like, make sure that I took care of all my investors in the last one, and it wasn't like I looked for the exits, when everybody felt like you should have swung for the fences, because that's potentially a red flag to new investors. Like, are you just gonna sell it quick again because you like being, you're trying to, like, hit these get rich quick schemes? Like, as long as they're like, "No, you took a good swing, you landed it responsibly, and now you're taking a big swing," you're gonna be in a really good position to start the next one, which is why Aerodome was such a big swing for us. And, like, why I felt, I had a good financial outcome where I'm like, "Look, I'm just going for the fences." And funny enough, it ended, like, exactly like you're saying about, like, a 17-month acquisition, which is, like, what I'm telling everybody, don't try to have that outcome. I
Yeah.
just focus on adding value, be like, "I'm gonna take a big swing, create as much value as I can, as fast as I can." And it ended up being that, like, the best thing for the business was to do this. And
Yeah.
it was, a sizable outcome for everybody. So generally investors were happy for what like was such an early stage exit, because of how a good of an exit was, but also because I think uh, everything was very aligned with this company. Culturally, it lined up. Like that's the other part of doing an acquisition, like that you really have to be careful about, like being acquired by a company that's going to fit for you.
In my last company, I spent, I think, around 3 years trying to get acquired. And, this is the funny thing with like, if you go to like Google or Apple's corp dev department, right? They have literally people there who are paid to talk to you. And if you're doing like something even vaguely interested and related to them, they will like talk to you. And then, they'll have you come in and talk to the PMs because they're like, yeah, like that they feel like they're doing their job. And like, the PMs will like take notes and all this stuff, right? So it's fun for them, right? To like see the startup as but you think as a founder, wow, I'm like making progress. Like I'm in acquisition talks with Google and Apple, and we had all of these, but it was a complete waste of time. And like 3 years trying to get sold, nothing happened, and then basically we gave up on it, and we were like, hey, let's just like stop trying to sell and make some progress on this kind of final pivot we were working on. And then as soon as we like stopped trying to make it happen and we actually hit like product market fit for this new thing we did, suddenly we had like two acquisition offers, and we basically like signed with one and we were in term sheet, and we had like five others while we were in term sheet. So like when it works, it really works, and it's like quite easy to get acquisition offers. But when you're trying to make it happen, it's super hard. And I started Mercury with this mindset that I'm never going to sell, and I think we've had like serious acquisition interest like every year. And I think actually if you're doing something with that mindset, where you're like trying to swing for the fences and do something big, and like you're just like, I'm not interested in the selling side of it, you're much more likely to actually get acquisition offers, which is like kind of ironic.
That's my earlier point, is like focus on building value, like you're describing. They'll come, and acquisition offers should just be considered as optionality for you. Like it's just leverage, it's optionality. You can decide to do it when you want. You want to have optionality, but it's like you're right. It's hard when you're a first time founder and you don't come from money, and someone shows up and goes, "I'll buy your business for 25 million, which will make you $1 million, a millionaire." And you're like, in the grand scheme of things, like that's not a lot of money if you're like, a late stage founder, you're trying to swing for the fences. But like when you're feeling that, like that's how I felt the first time. I'm like, oh my God, I'll never have to worry about money again, theoretically. Like I could make that work. Yeah, that's how you feel.